Well, da 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 da. In the absence of a theme tune, welcome everybody to the Inworld review, where it is sometime in August. Yes, indeed, it is sometime in August. Yeah, it's actually the 18th of August. That's very good. Rather a slow clock coming up here, but this is the Inworld review, where we look at all the immersive spaces and stuff, broadcasting live from Chilbo in Second Life every week as part of the Metaverse Week in Review. And if you've been watching the Metaverse Week in Review, which I presume you are if you're watching us live, then you'll have seen a goodly number of clips that we introduced with today. We had a new clip from Jackster, of course, this time looking at somebody involved in the fashion world over at Mayfair, London, of course. We started with a wonderful clip from NMA. Been in the news this week for doing some rather hilarious clips. They do far too many this week, but occasionally they pop up with a special, and this was a 3-minute music video called Obama's Watching Me. I thought, I looked at that. I thought, I've got to run that. That's a good thing to open the show with. So Draster's been to Mayfair. What else did we have? Had a look at virtual biology. The overview of virtual hospital ward, a virtual campus built in Dubai, space glasses, which look far more manageable than the famous Oculus Rift we're always talking about. And of course, we did mention those last week, so I dug up the clip for that. We had an interesting piece on narrative and online games, which isn't strictly virtual world stuff, but it is sort of tangential to our interests. We had a talk about the weather. Yes, indeed, we did. An advert for Be My Guest. And also, I ran it at the top because it's just so cute, and we do like our little cats and things here. Jungle Cats Are Us, which appears to be a sort of sim full of very attractive-looking creatures, virtually speaking, of course. And we also had a nice funky bass line to get us into the live show here, but it was actually just some music that our friend Petlove dropped behind some footage we'd taken of the Open Sim conference area. Now, Fleeper, who was on last week's show, has kindly given us audio for that, so we're going to be mixing in an audio dub, and you'll be seeing a lot more of that clip publicly soon once we've got Fleep's voice mixed into it. Anyway, quite a lot of food for thought there, I thought. Right, so to get back to the news, I just have a couple of incidental items really in the general metaverse sense. And let me see. I won't say I've forgotten what they are, but I need to switch tabs to get the highlights, don't I? The Kokura viewer, which also works with Second Life, by the way, and in fact most of their changes at the moment seem to be focused on the Second Life changes. They have had a new release during the week. It's version 3.6.2. Kokura, that's Kokua, for those of you who don't know, is actually the successor to the Imprudence viewer. Imprudence is still around, and Kokura is still, despite its version numbers, is still officially in beta, but it's meant to be a successor to Imprudence, which I think the biggest difference you notice is simply the interface. Kokura's more modern interface, whereas Imprudence tends to be old style. And of course, our own preferred viewer at the moment is Singularity, or at least the Singularity alphas that seem to come out virtually every day. There was the usual link from Justin CC's blog on updates to OpenSim during the week. The updates to OpenSim are coming on massively, partly due to the conference that's coming up. So there's just continuing updates coming up there at the moment. And most of those are actually reflected in the Singularity viewer. The main release of Singularity viewer, by the way, fully implements things like media on a prim and various other things in OpenSim that haven't hitherto been very easy to do. And it also makes hypergridding a lot easier if you actually have hyperlink addresses. It's slightly easier than the old way of coding in on a map. But you have to investigate Singularity to find out more about that. Right. Now, I did actually have three news items from the week that sort of caught my attention on the blogs. The first one I've got, and these might well be worth our discussion a bit later, comes from slashdot.org. And it was on August the 14th, and it was an article saying how gamers could save the real world. Um, quite interesting. It cites Jane McGonigal, of course, saying that the human race is going to require major time investment by playing video games. This is one of her favourite lines. It's not to do about the human race taking time off to play video games all day long. It's more to do with the skills required to interface with the future, and the same could be said for virtual worlds. However, what this blog does is it's proposing sort of ways that much as we often talk about games being embedded on the web, what they want to do is embed things in games. So that if you're playing a game, or arguably virtual worlds too, you'll be able to get these plugins that open inside the environment and actually get you to work on sort of mini games and things that are actually productive to the planet. In other words, you can help people research. You can headbang, or whatever the phrase is, and you can learn things about the real world environment and stuff like that. So if you actually check out Slashdot.org, and it's just saying how gamers could save the real world, you might find something interesting there. Now, also on the web, and this one actually comes from KPCC, it's Southern Californian Public Radio. I think there's an audio of this on the same page, but basically the headline was Minecraft blowing up the classroom. Educators say the game can teach everything from maths to genetics. And I think we actually mentioned Minecraft in our sort of vaguely open sim talk last week. How it's sort of like Lego, but it's also down to resolution. If you've got enough bricks, you can build just about anything, and it's just a matter of scaling. And the Los Angeles Charter School, the new Los Angeles Charter School, I should say. Okay, so I was getting Skype messages there, but apparently I thought I was being told I was not on sound or something, but it's bad chat. Please stop the Skype noises. Sorry, I will try and focus if the Skype noises stop. Anyway, this new Los Angeles Charter School last year, seventh graders learning the humanities were actually encouraged to found their own civilizations by living in them. Now, seventh graders are actually quite young folk. From the photo, I guess they're probably 9 or 10-year-olds, something like that. Hard to tell. But apparently they were put into groups and had to work together to survive without starving or running out of food supplies and everything. And they did all this, not in Second Life or any obvious virtual environment, but actually using Minecraft. And apparently the results were fantastic. Kids sort of using their initiatives as to how they would survive with no preconditions, no existing food supplies and no civilization in which to survive. They had to make up their own. So I thought that was rather a fascinating sort of thing. Finally, pardon me, I have another link here with it seems to be from qz.com, whoever they are, but the title is Here's to What the Immersive 3D Computer Interface of the Future Will Look Like. And this ties in with recent conversations we've had about Oculus Rift and the Leap device and all sorts of other sort of things, and it actually addresses something that we have mentioned in the past about the combination of interfaces and devices that are coming up and how it may pan out. In other words, the Oculus Rift is not the future of anything except like a surround sound vision. The Leap, there's limited abilities to what you want to do with gesture control, let alone what you can do. At the end of the day, it will be the myriad of things that we plug in together or use together, given our own individual circumstance, that will be the deciding factor in how the future will look. But it's very interesting that since the Oculus Rift and all of these devices coming up, there seems to be a vast interest in the technical media, at least, with 3D interfacing and 3D worlds. it's come about not because what we're doing here in Second Life and on OpenSim, but simply because of the capacity of the devices that are actually now coming out that will allow you to navigate using new metaphors. I do know, I suspect this is going to come back into our conversation later, because we were talking before we came on air about some other issues to do with the drawbacks of some of these wonderful new devices for certain people, and I think we will come back to that later, but we'll get to that when the time comes. And that really is all my headlines. So I will hand over to my colleague Tara for her headlines and general take on the week. Hello, Tara.
Hi, Mel, and welcome everyone. And I will comment even ahead of time that you very well may not see my lips moving in World, because it seems like my Second Life connection is being slightly less than cooperative at the moment, so my apologies for that. But besides that, there are a few news items that I found that Mel didn't mention, so that's good. A newly published academic study from the University of Michigan has found that people tended to feel worse and less satisfied after using Facebook. How's that for interesting?
No surprise whatsoever, actually, but never mind.
Yeah, the study, which let's see, was the lead author was Ethan Kroos of the University of Michigan Emotion and Self-Control Laboratory, which is kind of an interesting lab title, sent regular surveys to 82 young adults asking how they felt and how much they had been using Facebook. Results found that Facebook use predicted a decline in subjective well-being, irrespective of whether the time spent on Facebook was viewed as supportive. Now, I haven't gone back and read the actual study, but the fact that they're claiming that it was predictive is significant, because basically they've got their surveys and activities lined up in such a way that they can say this leads to that, which is a very different finding than saying this is associated with that. So this does require a bit more follow-up, I think. But an excerpt from the paper's concluding comment, quote, "On the surface, Facebook provides an invaluable resource for fulfilling such needs by allowing people to instantly connect, rather than enhancing well-being, as frequent interactions with supportive offline social networks powerfully do." Just what we need, an outside noise. Sorry, some little butt fly.
Oh dear, dear. You want to come back later, Tom?
No, I'll just shut the door, and that will.
I actually took that survey, by the way. Facebook sent me that one. I thought it was an interesting survey to take.
Anyway, just a minute. Where was I? Okay. They were just commenting. In-world offline social networks are enhance well-being. The current findings demonstrate that interacting with Facebook may predict the opposite result for young adults. It may undermine it. Now, this is probably significant. This was a survey done among young adults, not across the board. So let's not generalize to the whole universe of people. Researchers also tracked direct interactions with others, either face-to-face or over the phone, and did not find the same negative results. Caveats that they included in the study noted that the impact of Facebook's negative emotional effect was relatively small, and the survey used only a single bipolar scale instead of two scales that tracked positive and negative affect separately. And it's also noted in the article about this that this was a lone study, so shouldn't quite cause all of us to run fleeing from Facebook, but might prompt some introspection about how we spend our time online. And I think also not to generalize from Facebook. So anyway, but interesting item. Now we've heard, you know, that the Cassandras have been singing gloom and doom about Second Life and Second Life numbers and Second Life concurrency and number of sims and all that for some while now. But it turns out that World of Warcraft has been bleeding users rather significantly, and this is the first I saw of this. So apparently has lost another 600,000 subscribers in recent times. The game is down to 7.7 million subscribers, which is down from 8.3 million last quarter. So this is a recent drop, and the lowest number since 2007. At its peak, it posted 12 million subscribers, and apparently the drop is largely coming from China, where free-to-play and competitive online games like League of Legends are gaining momentum. So, World of Warcraft has been held up, I think, for a long time as kind of the be-all and end-all because of its numbers. Well, let's be real here. If World of Warcraft is bleeding, then Second Life should not feel so bad. I guess is my takeaway from that. Anyway. On to a couple of Second Life items. In the Eat Your Vegetables department, thanks to Inara Pay and her regular attendance at the third-party viewer Inworld meetings. Currently, server-side appearance is only enabled on Magnum. It was enabled for a time on La Tigra, and due to some issues, they've temporarily disabled it on La Tigra as of this week's rollouts. Let's see. How did this? Okay. Comment was made. This was as of last Monday. However, for some comments passed in recent discussions and a hint in the forum deployment thread, it would appear that if the data obtained from Magnum during the week remains solid, server-side appearance might be considered ready for prime time next week. So stay tuned. So you could be seeing server-side appearance everywhere real soon. So let's stay tuned on that one. Let's see. The other item that I think has been rather big this week that broke on Friday was the rather unexpected rollout of a new terms of service. The discussion on this, there's some discussion going on as people try to figure out what's different. The main takeaways appear to be that this is Second Life, actually Linden Lab, endeavoring to create a one-size-fits-all its efforts terms of service, so to cover all its gaming activities as well as Second Life, not just be a Second Life terms of service. So it appears to be intended to be that. The sections that have been noted, major updates to the dispute resolution and arbitration section, a new section on infringement notification, including notes on the takedown process, and removal of the need for Linden Lab to provide a 30-day grace period following any material change to the terms of service. This means they can do just like they did this last week, where they rolled one out and you couldn't get into Second Life until you signed it, and there had been no advance warning that there was a change. Let's see. The thing in reading various comments and some points that steered towards some sections that had fairly noticeable edits, it appears that because of access to their Blocks World and some others, that they're really kind of younger teens, that it appears that they have eliminated restrictions on 13 to 15-year-olds other than parental permission being able to get into Second Life. The setup on that when they closed the teen grid was that those under 16 could come in only on a limited basis to specific education locations. And not elsewhere. And the current ones, as I read them, appear to allow 13 to 15-year-olds in general sims without any of those additional hoops. I won't claim to be an attorney to read that with necessarily great accuracy, but that's kind of my read on that, which is an interesting change. And if that's accurate, then sims like Chilbo could see more 13 to 15-year-olds around since this is a general sim. Anyhow, the big takeaway from an RFA was this is a major rewrite. So the sections are numbered a little differently, and there may be some other things lurking in there. And she recommended that everybody actually take the time to really eat your vegetables, including the ones you don't like at all, and read through all of the terms of service again, or for the first time if you never have, just to kind of be aware of what all the particulars are. And there is a very helpful Google Docs that's been done. That somebody's done a line-by-line comparison of the most recent Second Life terms of service with the new terms of service and highlighted what's new and what went away. And the link for that, if you go to modemworld.wordpress.com, which is in our Pays blog, and find the article on the terms of service a couple days back, you'll find the link in there to that Google Doc, which I think is very useful. So, and on that note, I'm done for now. I'm going to toss it back to Mel.
Oh, that was quick. Yes, I'd completely forgotten about the famous terms of service. I of course, got it in due course and clicked yes. Just went in. Never really investigated, as you never do. You don't want to read some multi-page documents going somewhere. My attitude is if I do something wrong, they can let me know, and I'll respond accordingly. Interesting that they're giving more freedom to younger persons to get into general areas. I was surprised that it's not as it became a sort of Linden Lab terms of service rather than a Second Life specific terms of service, because no doubt you're going to have to sign the thing again if you use one of their other products. Yes. There've been a lot of incidents, I should say, in the last couple of weeks that we automatically assume our kids who are still on holiday from their schools, at least in the northern hemisphere they are, and the thought that they might be getting younger and younger is a bit alarming in some ways. But I guess Second Life really should be a family affair, maybe. And of course, it does have restricted regions, so I don't think we need to worry too much about that. And I did pick up on that thing. I don't think it's just World of Warcraft. I think a lot of I guess CD-ROM, DVD-based games that you sort of buy and subscribe to are beginning to suffer due to things moving wholly online. And also the fact that you mentioned China and also the Middle East generally, I think, increasingly they're using mobile devices to play games. And I think games that are not addressing the mobile interface, where I don't say phones, but, iPads, Android pads and things like that, could be on to a bit of a loser long term if they don't, because these are increasingly becoming the quick ways of for people to get online and do what they want to do. Anyway, that's aside. We're going to be discussing a bit more about Second Life here. We had a good session on OpenSim last week, so I think we'll be mostly Second Life focused this week. Second Life, of course, is the high street of the metaverse. It's the place where all the big concerts and the big art exhibitions and the major shopping takes place, as it were, even if it is a walled garden. And one of our favourite things to do in Second Life is to go a-hunting. Now, later, if you're watching our live show, we'll be replaying the latest edition of Happy Hunting later on in the show. Battle of the Sexes, it was called. So you'll get more about hunting then. But interestingly, I do follow a blog which is just called Hunt SL. You'll find it at huntsl.wordpress.com. And just as an anecdotal thing, on my Inworld feed, so to speak, there was a post, I think it was yesterday, in fact, August 17th, the top 10 current hunts in SLs. I thought that's a good prompt for me to talk about hunts. In order, the enmeshed into fall hunt, the homeless awareness hunt, the rock attitude hunt, number 3, the Fantasia, or fantasy, spelt as C as in the water thing, SEA, hunt, Candy Girl hunt, Summer Hangover hunt, Colours of Summer hunt, Once in a Blue Moon hunt, Burlesque versus steampunk hunt. That sounds fun. I haven't come across that before. And then one that's actually called the ultimate stuff hunt. I guess there's a hunt for everything. And there's hunts for everything too. Anyway, I thought it was... I loaded that page just because I thought it'd be interesting for us to know what the biggest hunt drives are at the moment, as it were. Taken by the number of hits they're getting and everything else. Anyway, we will no doubt have more about this as we go along. It is now time for me to introduce our guests of the week. They're all sort of regulars, some more regular than others. First of all, we are back. She won't be with us for the whole show, but she will be for a while yet. Welcome back to Saffia Widdershins. Hi, Saffia.
Hello, Mal. Hello, Tara. Good to be here.
Great to have you here too. We're joined by our almost weekly regular, highly critical, highly entertaining, and highly intelligent. Yes, it's Will Burns. Hi, Will.
Howdy. I'm as regular as a bowl of bran.
And something you folks at home cannot possibly know, but we know because of his picture in Skype, Will has finally succumbed to the furry lover brigade.
Cat fever.
At least he has a wonderful portrait on his Skype Addy at the moment, so good on you. They look great. We're also joined, of course, by somebody who's also our wonderful camera person, both here and in Happy Hunting, and a special UWA thing we've got coming up later, so she's been busy. It's Petlove Petshop. Hi, Pet.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine. The same as I was 2 hours ago and yesterday. We're busy bees, we are. And lastly, but not least, is to welcome back to Honor McMillan. Hi, Honor.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back.
Indeed. You are sort of a regular, but it has been a while. So welcome back. Honor, for those of you who don't know, is the author of a blog called Another Day, Another Destination. Oh, sorry, it's not called that. But that's what I call it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honor will no doubt be able to bring us up to date on lots of exciting destinations, and there's a good few new arts exhibits and things underway too.
There's a lot of exciting news at a couple of places. So sure.
Great. That's what we're looking forward to. Okay, well, I think I'm going to leave it to Saffia to open up the conversation with what's new and everything else, simply because I know she's got limited time, and we can move into discussion and hear everything else. So let's hear it from you, Saffia.
Well, I guess the first news I want to share is that Designing Worlds is back. We're having our first show broadcast tomorrow, Monday, and it's actually going to be a look back at the builds of Relay for Life. Because after the relay is over and the telethon is over, we actually slip away and go around the track and meet some of the people who built the buildings and talk to them and share them with you. It's a nice way of remembering what was happening at Relay. In fact, we will be back at Relay for the first 2 shows of our season, because a place that we fell in love with, I don't know if any of you got a chance to see it while Relay was on, it was the surviving caregivers area, which was designed by the artist Winter Nightfire. And I actually interviewed her briefly about it during the Relay. But she took me on a guided tour of it when we did our inspection of Relay builds, and it was just so wonderful. We decided we would get together with her and make a whole program. That'll be number 2 in the season, so that will be not tomorrow but the following Monday. But tomorrow it's the general and view of the Relay for Life builds, and I think you'll love it. I saw some fantastic places.
That's actually, I will interrupt there, that's such a sheer coincidence. There's there is a machinima maker. I keep wanting to call him Elric Martinek, but it's not Elric. It's another E, and I can never remember his first name. But his second name is Martinek, and he's been doing this every year. I've downloaded during the week. He's basically made separate machinima ranging from 2 minutes to about 5 or 6 minutes of each of the relay sims as sort of slideshows with music and stuff, and I've got a whole load of them. There are about 40 sims if I remember, so it's about I'm basically drawing all them together, and we'll have a 90-minute sort of sequence of music and slides, as a tour of the sims, which I'll probably put up on this channel at the end of a show one week, and I don't know, it'll be next week, but it's great because there's a lot of historical record coming out, even though it's a couple of months now since the weekend, but great to see all this material coming out and the continuation of the buzz, should we say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, Mark Twain White always does a video of it, so his will be out at some point as well. So there are records. I mean, it was a historic year for Relay for Life as they crossed the 2 million mark. In fact, Prim Perfect, which should be out in the next week or so, we are taking the subject of non-profits for this issue. And obviously we've got a report on Relay, and we've got pictures from the Relay, but we're also looking at places like Virtual Ability, who are doing some fantastic work, research and things, working on research projects. We're looking at some of the smaller non-profits that are here on the grid, and Honor's got a wonderful article about how the grid gets used for spontaneous charities, when you get people responding to emergencies like the Tasmanian wildfire or the tsunami in Japan, and the events in Haiti, and they will actually band together and raise money for that, and also that they will work to support individuals who have been hit by some sort of disaster, like the Love Donna Flora event that has been going on for some time. This, I don't know if I mentioned on last week. Oh yes, I did, because I just came back from it. The Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, yes. There's I think it was yesterday that there was a repeat performance as well. They were asked to do it or something. I still haven't seen it though.
It is going on. I was looking at their list of dates, and they have extended their season till the beginning of November, but it won't actually be every week. It's just going to be periodically, so you'd need to check their website. There are details in the new Prim Perfect anyway, so you can find out from there.
All right. Talking about spontaneous things, I'm just going to interrupt some. So this SG isn't anything to do with a non-profit, but I think it was also rather interesting. I think it might have been yesterday or Friday, but it's exactly a year since a band over in Russia, a musical band called Pussy Riot, were imprisoned over in Russia. And I think it was yesterday, there was a huge virtual demonstration here in Second Life, commemorating the fact they've been in prison for years. And the Russian embassy in Second Life, there was big trouble. I don't know whether it went offline, but they were they were kicking people out, and whoever was running the sim was behaving like the Russian authorities. They weren't going to have any of this. And there's quite a lot of controversy, especially as the gay community in Second Life also wanted to get into Russia to protest about the sort of gay rights violations that are rapidly coming into place. So it proved positive that the virtual world is an active place in more senses than one, where real world parallels have actually hit. And like the non-profit things you mentioned, these are impromptu, or more or less impromptu sort of things, and they do have an impact. They certainly had an impact yesterday. But carry on anyway. What else is new? I had to get
Well,
that in. I had to get that in.
No, I agree. I was just wondering if there's anything going on about Egypt at the moment, which hasn't crossed my radar. I'd be interested to know if there's anything in the Arab Sims that is going on about the whole situation in Egypt, which is just such a tragedy.
It is. To the best of my, well, I haven't come across anything. There is masses on the web, of course. The whole dashboards set up on Twitter and things like that are devoted only to those threads. As far as I know, there's been, I don't really know of any prominent Egypt-based builds in Second Life. There are many, that are architectural recreations and stuff like that centered around Egypt, the culture. But in a sort of, I don't think there's a sort of living virtual Egypt, as it were, like there's a virtual London or a virtual Dublin. But I may be wrong. It hasn't crossed my radar.
I don't have the location off the top of my head, but during the whole Arab Spring period, there was at least one location in World where you could go and talk to people, and there were live updates, and there were direct feeds from Al Jazeera and various other networks going on. So there's an active political base within Second Life. I'm not familiar. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact destination. But if there's something going on, it's probably going on there. I wouldn't discount the possibility that it's going on, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, Second Life is a huge place. I mean, many people, they sit here watching us and think that we're talking about a few little places around us that are interesting. But, there's, this is the size of, small country. And not only that, it's partitioned into small little parcels in many places. So, you could spend your whole life in here and never see it all. And, as it grows bigger, it's going to be even worse. So you really have to hunt around and look for what you want. And I suspect, as Anna said, there are certainly many active Middle Eastern sort of groups in here, whether they be political or cultural, or both, of course. So I'm sure a bit of a search will find something. In fact, I'll endeavour to have a look around, just in case by next week we can find something to let you know about. So, good point there. Good point indeed. So, anything else, Saffia? Designing worlds, of course. I know, of course, that the Black Mirror is in full production again. How can we miss this fact?
Yeah, we're having our first production meeting later on today, and I'm pretty nose down in that. I'm going to be extremely dull for a few months as I get on top of that. Yeah, and 3 of the people here are going to be at that because they're all involved in it.
Which is a good opportunity to do a little advertising right now.
Yes, okay, Honor, yes. Ads Honor.
There's 2 things I want to talk about. The first, regarding Black and Mirror and in general Saffia's media empire. If keep track of the Prim Perfect blog, 2 things are going to be coming up. One is job opportunities in various aspects of that media empire. And the second is that we're going to be calling for people who are interested in being extras or featured principals in Black and Mirror episodes. And we'll have a group and we'll invite you to join, and we'll have lots more information, but you need to pay attention to that. The other thing I would love to talk about is, not surprisingly, the Linden Endowment for the Arts, which I will shorten to Leia. The newest round of grants began on August 1st, and some of the Sims are already done and open and inviting people to come visit. So what I want you to do is to go into your world map, type LEA, and you will find 27 Sims full of things going on. But what is very exciting to me, and it hasn't happened yet because of me, my bad entirely, but I wanted to let people know that it's coming. We're going to create a very active volunteer corps to support the Linden Endowment for the Arts and these 27 Sims. They will be doing a variety of things, everything from greeting at a welcome center, which will be a central location that you can use to venture out to the art, that's out there. There's a huge, for example, machinima library that nobody knows about that people will be able to direct you towards, and you really need to go visit. We will be reanimating the Avatar games, which will be starting up in a month or so, or a couple months. And volunteers will be working on that. We will have some interactive activities like a photo hunt. We're going to have a lot going on in the next 12 months, and we want a team of volunteers who would like to get involved and go to work on it. So keep track on my blog, honormcmillan.wordpress.com, or the Linden Endowment for the Arts blog, and watch for it and join up and get involved, because it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Great. Do you tell me? Well, I've got it on my screen actually, so you might know about this too. It's not LEA, but Linden's premium areas. I have a post about Magellan's Grid scavenger hunts. Do you know anything about that?
Is this like Magellan Linden?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, you need to know that it is not true that I broke his heart. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. It is not true. Okay, it's a vicious urban myth. Anyway. Magellan Linden is somebody. If you were back in Second Life 7 or 8 years ago, you probably ran into Magellan. Magellan is one of those people who was the original intrepid explorers within Second Life. And he would head out across the vast mainland continents and discover new and exciting destinations. He would also get lost on a regular basis. He has absolutely no sense of direction. If you wanted to find Magellan, you went to the nearest seedy pub and you'd find him. If you bought him a beer, he'd spill all his secrets. He's really quite a low life character. However, very he does. Yes, he is. He's quite a social animal. Magellan disappeared for a few years, and people blamed me. Wasn't my fault. I didn't break his heart. But he has resurfaced, and a number of people who had been out searching for him on the grid are very pleased that he's back. And so one of the things he's been doing to try and encourage exploration, he did it during the birthday celebration period. He had a hunt. He is uncovering new mole-built builds, and he is doing other hunts. So I would encourage you all to try and seek out Magellan Linden. I encourage you to do his hunts. What I do not encourage you to do is introduce him to your daughters.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I got the link.
Good advice.
I got the link from sl-playinstinct.blogspot.com, which is a blog called Second Life Play Instinct, and they just cover in general all their games and stuff. Now, the thing you do have to know about this is that Magellan's Hunt is only it takes place on what are actually Linden Labs premium user areas.
This one does, yes.
Yeah,
this one does. So you have to be a premium member to follow it around. But you know, if you're going to find things, it's a great way to do it. If you are a premium member, even if you're not a premium member, what you can do, and I'm sorry I don't have the link with me. I'll look for it, and if I find it, I'll put it into chat on the web. There is a mole travel agency on the mainland, and it links to a variety. If you don't know them, the Second Life moles are a group of people who build public builds for Second Life.
Roadways.
So they build the roads and the railways, but they also build really cool, very strange stuff. So there is a place on the mainland, for example, where a dragon comes up out of the earth, and you can go through a number of challenges to try and get underground and find the treasure under this dragon. I mean, there's some really very cool stuff. There is a mole travel agency, which you can find on the mainland, and it will lead you to a variety of these builds that you've never encountered before, and they're gorgeous. It's something that you should look it up, and as soon as I find the link, I'll post it.
Great. I've never heard of that. That does actually sound great.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, I'm not a premium member, but maybe maybe I'll be able to dig up something in McMillan's to get solve puzzles and get prizes in different areas. Okay. What else? What else have we got? Back to LEA, I guess. I gather I may have mentioned this last week, but the Open Machinima project at LEA as well has recently been updated with more sets. This is a place where people can go, and if they haven't got land or but they want to res stuff and make machinima, it's a sort of open space where they can find ready-built sets.
Well, yeah, it's really quite a fascinating build. It's not only the sets, although you'll find a variety of different landscapes and things that you can use in which to film your machinima, or even just take photographs if that's all you want to do. But they also have fixed sets, like a typical, barn-sized indoor sets, with cameras and lights and a variety of tools that you need for your indoor filming. Okay. To go back to my previous comment, if you go to Barney's Bay, which is on the mainland, and it's 2 words, BARNEYSBAY, and 129/218/29, you will find the Mole Travel Agency.
Oh, right.
Okay, and you do not need to be a premium member to do that. But the Linden Endowment for the Arts, as I said, has 20 sims of grants, which is brilliant and wonderful, and the new ones have just started. But there are 27 sims, and so the Open Machinima project is one of them. It's fabulous for anybody who wants to start doing machinima or already doing machinima and needs a place to do it. It's a great place to get help and tips and see some great landscapes and tools. The machinima library is, I can't even begin to tell you how big it is, how rich it is. It goes back for years. You can watch also the evolution of machinima in Second Life, get some ideas. There's a sandbox. There will be a volunteer corps that'll help you do things. There are often festivals which encourage people to go from sim to sim to sim. There's a lot coming up, so keep track of my blog and the Linden Endowment for the Arts blog.
For sure. Okay.
Great.
I'm actually going to bring Will over the last couple of weeks. Has actually been he hasn't rested this week, thank goodness. But he has a new project which is closely aligned with destinations too. Have you? Honor is a great authority on destinations, I think. Will. So any more news?
Absolutely.
Any more
absolutely.
News?
Honor is like the authority on destinations. Absolutely, I agree with that. Absolutely, better than a destination guide. I'll give her that much.
So you're going to drop her into your console?
Well, actually, we're working on that now. We should have something a little bit more on the end of the week here. Did some interesting testing with the web prims, and it turns out that apparently web prims don't work consistently across different viewers. So we had to scrap that aspect of it, directly embedding the web prim to get that to work. But it's not a big deal because we already had an original design that would have worked just as well. So we're going with the original and making the settings as an external page, which is easy enough. We have a settings and a profile page for everybody.
Just a sideline here, but you say they don't work the same in every viewer. Does this mean the Inworld viewer, the WebKit sort of base viewer is different?
I don't think it's the WebKit. From what I'm getting back from testing, between different viewers, they don't work consistently. Like for some you have to actually click on it to activate it as a HUD. Others it just works. Others it does not. And for some reason it's kind of wonky, where it's not always able to take the information correctly. And I'm not sure why. We're not sure why, and we just don't have time to suss it out. Or maybe it's on our side. We just don't have time to suss it. So we're just going to do it.
I've had a similar problem with media on the Prim, actually.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about media on the Prim.
Yeah, I have various settings where, the live stream embed can go in, it goes to the iPhone directly and stuff, and, on one viewer also Play works, on another one it doesn't. And
right, so what we have to do is, we have to, go to the fallback, which is just make it as an external page, which shouldn't be too big of a deal, because we have to actually, what we're going to do is we're going to have a whole profile with tokens, how much tokens you've racked up, how many jumps you've had, just regular metrics. So we're going to have that anyway, so we figured we'd just make that another tab for your category settings. You can pick what you want and change it. So it wasn't a big deal. It was just, we can't do that. It was a nice idea, but it was like, it wasn't really a huge, blow to our ego or anything. We're just like, okay, we just can't do it that way. We'll do it the original way. But we're having, making some strides there. We should have... The way we're discussing it now is we've kind of updated our agenda here, which is we've made it so that the kiosks can now be customized. So if you have like Inworld Review, you can throw that logo on the kiosk and it would work just fine. So it matches your venues. So it's not like sticking out like a green thumb when it's the default green. You can just put a wood texture or something on it, make it fit in better. The other one is we've kind of tweaked the gifting system just a little bit, not too much. What we're going to do is we're going to have it on tokens. So I think the discussion right now is roughly every 100 jumps you get a token, and I think every 25 ratings you get a token. So you get a maximum of 5 tokens per 100 jumps. And when you go to get a gift, you trade in your tokens for the gift on the kiosks.
All right.
And that's not a big deal. We're going to introduce also, we have a coin, 3-coin system where venue owners can drop, hide coins around, kind of like your hunts. But the coins only give out tokens if you're wearing a HUD. So if you find it, it just gives you, 1, 5, or 10 tokens if you find it. And it just lets you explore and look around and, redeem your tokens at the different kiosks that have the gifts built into them. So, it's kind of like a universal hunt system, more or less, except having, without all the, the messiness in it. It's just, it's all tied to tokens.
Great. So, destinations galore on our way. Now, I've got another article here, which is a blog I never heard of. And typically, when I saw the title of the blog, Erotic Art in Second Life Part 1, I thought, this turns out to be a rather good little article. You can find it at, I'm going to actually spell this out because I really don't know how to pronounce it. It's WEBSPELLUNKER.blogspot. Web Splunker, yeah. Web Spelunker.
Yeah.
.blogspot.co. Right. Thank you, Anna. I guess you know this blog then.
Well, Spelunker is somebody who explores caves, right?
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. That's what a spelunker does. And so a web spelunker does the exploration, but on the web.
The underground of the web.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. I did not know this. Anyway, they had a post a couple of days back called Erotic Art in Second Life Part 1. And it's quite extensive. It's got a quote from Woody Allen at the top, says sex is dirty only when it's done right. But it then goes on to, it basically looks at galleries. Alanis Gallery is one of the ones she focuses on, and this is clearly going to be an ongoing series. But it's quite an in-depth read and well worth reading, especially into. And now this, this is not Sex in Second Life story. This is not pornography or anything like that. It's simply erotic art in Second Life. Be it, erotic art is just another form of art, and it could be a gallery showing some real-world 2D paintings, or it could be something done in 3D itself using a 3-dimensional canvas that you actually have in Second Life. But I've always been, I'm not too into pornography or anything like that, but I've always been quite a fan of what I call erotic art. There's probably a grey area in the definition, but I thought it was a very interesting read, and there is actually plenty of it to be found if you know where to look. So that blog would seem to be a good starting point. Okay. Let me see what other links I've got here. Well, first of all, anybody back to Saffia and Honor, and Petlove, of course. What have you been up to, Petlove, apart from the editing deck?
Oh, I've been just really that's all I've been doing for the past week or so. A few odds and ends in real life too. I have continued to do things like fail to turn my lips on when I'm filming. That type of thing. But happy hunting has become very interesting. The hunts have really been great. I've been doing a few of them, and the current hunt, it's a mix of the men's and the home stuff. Is it the ultimate stuff hunt? Is great prizes. I was really surprised.
Stuff hunt.
Ultimate stuff hunt, right?
Ultimate.
Yeah. So, and the shows have gotten shorter, so our hits are going up too. More people are watching because I think it's a little easier to watch. And we've started the mini hunts. We're going to be doing them regularly, and I think they'll get a lot of hits too because they're even shorter. They're under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We're shooting for 5. We're going to try to get them down to like 3 to 5 minutes, but that's kind of hard because Rosemood does such a good job.
Yeah, I was apprehensive when I said, like, we'll start running them here on the show. And in fact, it's great because when I see something that's over 30 minutes,
right,
I think, well, it's really a standalone. That I can't, I know we're on for 4 or 5 hours every Sunday, but people will go. People don't like a particular segment; they'll stay with it for a limited time and then go. And obviously, people that like it, love it.
Right.
But I tend to be wary of running things for gigantically long on this particular channel, anyway. But it's great. And we got the award ceremony from UWA you did earlier too, and that's about 25 minutes, isn't it? So they're all nice sort of times to fit in, between the machinima clips and everything else.
They're good for your overnights.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It's a whole discussion, and we're the worst guilty party here. I mean, this show is ad-lib and improvised, and we've been known to go on for about 2.5 hours. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, fine if it's interesting, and we keep the conversation going. But I mean, people, I'm the same. I follow all this stuff, and it's very hard to find time to sit down and watch hour-long shows. You can only fit so many in a week.
That's so true. Yeah.
But no, great show anyway. That's what the sex is there. That ties in with the erotic art, I suppose. Sort of.
In a way, yeah. Really good prizes on that one too. Some beautiful women's clues. Really. And the ultimate. I still can't remember it. Ultimate. What was it, Saff? Ultimate stuff hunt. Is all. It's men. The men's path in that has a lot of stuff for men. So hunting isn't just for women, and it's not just for clothes either. A lot of great furniture, a lot of great outdoor scenes. So, I'm excited this week about hunting.
We seem to have temporarily lost Saffia Inworld. I don't know whether we've still got her on the audio. Yes, you may. I think we've lost her, so we'll have to wait for her to come back.
Okay.
I was... Oh yes, I was actually just going to reminded me to ask Saffia what goodies will fall out of the Inworld copy of Print Perfect, but we'll have to ask her again when she comes back. That's one of the other joys of that Print Perfect. You open it up and it's you hunt through the pages to see what drops out at you. Anyway, I've also got a thing talking of art. A blog from yesterday about the Spiral Art Gallery. Are you familiar with any? Honor, do you know the Spiral Art Gallery?
I may, although the name isn't coming to my head at the moment.
Yeah, they do. They do seem to pop up now and again. I get this actually from a blog. They tend to publish in spurts, and then you don't hear them for ages. But they're called elvenenchantment.blogspot.com.
Oh, cool!
And as you might gather from the name, they sort of tend to feature elven sims and things like that. But most of their posts seem to be about art galleries and.
Is that SPYRALLE that you're referring to? Now the gallery.
Oh, Spiral, SPIRAL. art gallery.
Okay, no, never mind.
Yeah, apparently this is the exhibition here actually is fractal art by Spiral Silverstar, and Spiral.
Okay, that is the same. Yeah, that is the same one who does some fabulous clothes using fractals.
Ah, okay. Even
And
better.
he had 2 award-winning machinima in the recent UWA.
That was the connection I was about to say. I immediately
Sorry.
I immediately thought, nah, he's the guy that makes that wonderful machinima too.
Yeah.
So, I thought that does sound like worthy of a visit. I'm just trying to find out. Oddly enough, I can't see a slew or anything actually on the blog here, which isn't very helpful. You think they put that in? No. Moon and Muses is an installation enchanting with twinkling stars, moons, and a vast ocean of space behind. Yeah, all about it, but not a clue as to where you go. So you'll have to look. That will not be for yourself, folks. But if you want to read more about it, check out Elven Enchantment, blogspot.com.
Another one of those blogs that breaks the who, what, where, when, how, why rule and doesn't include the specific location.
Yeah.
And you recall I had a rant about that particular subject in connection with events that do not include the event location, name, and the dates, including the year.
Because it's obvious.
Above the fold.
You just want everything. You just want everything on a plate, Tara.
Yeah, well, they blog on, and they obviously want you to come, and you have to backtrack about 6 pages in the earlier posts before you finally maybe find the information you need.
But, on that note, and in a similar vein, oddly enough, there's a gallery I finally made it to called Nitro Globus Gallery, which is on, I'm looking at it, Costa Blanco. And oddly enough, the first artist I saw exhibiting in there, when I landed, there's a number of artists exhibiting at this moment. And the first artist I saw, and I always have a terrible time with his name, is Tutsi Navarantha.
Yeah.
You just have one extra syllable, Navarantha.
There's a lot of A's and B's in cars. Tutsi, I've always known as a machinist, and he wins a lot of the competitions, and just came second, which was a surprise at the UWA. Not a surprise when you see the winner, because the winners was wonderful. But he also does 2D art, which I didn't realize. And he is currently exhibiting at Nitro Globus, along with a number of other artists. And the exhibit is wonderful. The space is wonderful. And once you're finished 770 meters in the air wandering around the gallery, go down to sea level, because the sim itself is gorgeous, and there's more art down there as well.
Is that gallery... I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that is coincidence, because I've got moving pictures in Second Life blog posts, some very close to me open. So you've got a nice little picture there. But also we have a machinima film of the opening of that gallery coming up later. Good. Great stuff. Just called Tusco's Journeys. I think it's that's it. That's the way it reads on my import list. But we'll be showing that later. Looks absolutely fascinating indeed. So
yes, and the 2 artists who own it, Dido Haas and Nitro Fireguard, are brilliant. I loved their work too. So it's a cool new place to go.
Oui. Now, one of your, I don't know if it's today's or yesterday's. You produce so many. You produce so many blogs on her. I was intrigued when I heard about venturing into the more manly side of Second Life.
Yeah, I got some, let's call it fan mail. I got a message from a gentleman who insists that he's a regular reader of my blog, and I thought, well, that's very nice. And then he said, however, and I thought, he said, art and flowers, they're really nice, but could you share some more testosterone-friendly places? And it's actually a fair comment, because I rarely go to what might be considered manly, sort of activity sims, or the manly side of Second Life. And in my own defense, it's primarily because when they all, many of them seem to have to do with warfare or armies or things, and invariably when I land on those sims, I'm killed. I don't even get a chance to see anything res. I certainly don't get a chance to take a photograph. It's like they stand around the landing area looking for people like me with a target on their back that says sucker, you know, and I land and somebody shoots me and I'm sent home again. So I avoid them.
I was never really much of a gamer back in the days of CD-ROM. I love Myst and Seventh Guest and stuff like that. But, you know, I've got all these CD-ROMs, most of which I got given actually at the time. And, you know, I can never get past the first frame because I get shot. And I'm not quick enough to shoot, you know. There's a, you know, I may be a male, but I mean, I just don't really go for that. I want to explore and have an adventure. But I'm looking at your blog here, and like, you know, you've got Fallen, MC, brackets, adult, adult, but they're great pictures. There's nothing adult about
It's a
them.
gorgeous sim. What I found was a motorcycle club, which, you know, frankly, I consider manly. Called Fallen. It's Fallen Motorcycle Club. It's located on the sim called Elemental Kingdom. And although it is very manly, I was assured because I spoke to one of the officers, they have women in the officers as officers of the motorcycle club. So there's no rape, there's none of that stuff. You know, it's not women unfriendly. It's just a very testosterone-driven environment. Yeah. And if you're a man who wants a band of brothers, you know, to feel like part of a unit, this is a heck of a place to go. If you're looking for a really cool dark landscape, because that's what this is, it's a great place to go. And if you're a woman who would just like to hang around manly men and loves motorcycles, here's a great place to go. So this is my first really in what I hope occasionally will be more testosterone-driven locations. I'll try not to ignore that area of my audience anymore.
Well, one of the pictures about a third of the way down here is really lovely. It's just like this desolate, stark landscape with a decaying fence on one side, decaying buildings on the other, and a sort of trough of land marking a roadway through it. But it just evokes atmosphere. I mean, to me, it doesn't feel male, female, anything. It's just a landscape. But it reminds me of the sort of builds that Mad P did with some of their darker,
it's extraordinarily well done. It's a very evocative landscape, and I guess, you know, if the name of your motorcycle club is Fallen, it makes perfect sense. It's a gorgeous place to go. And I'll say this, although with my usual caveat, which is don't abuse the privilege, rezzing is allowed there. Ooh. So if you wanted to come and res some props or do some images or do some photos or res your own motorcycle or whatever it is you want to do, that's available on that sim. And they seem like really nice people. So I think it's a place you should check out.
Great. Now, actually, it has occurred to me. I would really hope that one week we can get Kiana Reiter onto this show, who's of course the amongst her whole team, in fact, but the person behind Mad P, who do some wonderful games, their hunts and their games, basically. And actually, I knew there was another thing I was going to drag Petlove into. There's a machinima sort of show on radio, on Blog Talk Radio. I think it's every Tuesday, and I was interviewed by them. I was on one of their shows, but they did a special one last night on Mad P. They had Kiana and a load of other people there, including a certain person called Petlove Petshop.
Was that last night? It seems like it was a week ago.
Oh, really? I remember it was not the easiest of programs to participate in, from my point of view. I don't know why. They tended to get off the point and descend into giggling rather a lot. But it was a very interesting show last night. I was listening. You were there as a sort of co-host.
Yes, I'm an emergency co-host for anybody that needs somebody to run their mouths. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
It was. I mean, they did go off track a lot of the time, but it's really interesting to hear Gowner speak, and also the fact she brought a whole crew with her. So she had the woman who, for example, is the host of the Second Life Inworld chat group, because you don't see Gowner much on that, and her designers, and she brought in people that were able to talk about all aspects of it. And I don't know whether I can think of a greater range of questions that could have been asked, but I found it a very interesting sort of conversation.
They're a great bunch of people. You can tell they get along really well, and that they're all very, very good at their jobs, which you can see at the builds that they create. I mean, I was walking around going, nice boat, nice this, nice that, because it's really stunning work in Second Life. On top of their games being the most challenging and the cleverest, I think, of just right up at the top. It's hard to beat Mad P. They're super.
Well, they have. We mentioned this a few weeks ago. They have background noises again. It's not here. They have Mad City, which has replaced the Carnival area as their new main one, and of course they've currently got a hunt on. Which you probably know about, Honor, which is, it's actually a sequel to the hotel
Room 326.
Oh, you remember the number, right? That's it's actually a sequel to, and it was fascinating. They said that's the first time they've ever done a sequel. I remember doing the Ream 326.
326.
That was great. Whether I've got time to do the follow-up one, I don't know, but it's a hunt. But it's a sort of game too, and it's actually an adventure. I think more than just being the hunt and the game. You're solving clues, and it's actually the whole thing becomes a kind of adventure that sort of carries you. It's got a momentum that just sort of carries you forward.
The clues remind me of the logic puzzles that you get in math class in high school. They're subtle. They're very subtle, and you really have to think sometimes. Which is very different in Second Life.
I enjoy the cleverness of the clues. After you've done several several of the Mad P hunts, you sort of begin to get it. You develop a bit of a sense of what to look for in the clues. For the real clue. Even then, that they managed some real zingers.
Then it's still hard to find.
Wonderfully done.
Yeah, it's like every step is a challenge.
Yes,
but that's why they're
not
so
only
good.
that. They do a great job of kind of the scripting and stuff is done in a way that the chances are excellent. You can't use any of the cheats that one sometimes resorts to with kind of regular hunts where
they mentioned that in the show. Yes.
They said one person so disliked hunters who use those cheats that this person would go into the build and move the landmarks every hour just so that people couldn't tell each other, go here, go there.
I think there was one in the last Carnival. There was one of those, the end one, that was up on the not the Ferris wheel, but
Helter-Skelter.
It was the roller coaster track.
That's good.
But they kept moving it. So it wasn't staying in one place, and it was bare to get to.
Yeah.
Because you had to walk the track to get there. And I did that track about 3 times, and could not find it. And I finally, at some point, I ran across a picture that showed the item on the track. And I studied that picture, and I was able to kind of get a visual sense of what was behind it, what was framing the picture. It was just a little bit of a landscape behind it. And from that, then I went back and I looked again. and finally found it. But it was like, I don't know how many hours I frustrated hours I spent trying to.
You didn't give up though, did you? Good for you.
No, I didn't give up because it was the last thing. It was kind of like I found everything else except that. Just don't give up that close.
I have to admit, Tara and I used to do these together, but I think the recent ones we've sort of done them in slightly separate timings, and that was incredibly difficult. And the one thing I dread about new map B Hunt actually is not having time to get in on it at the start, because when you have to purchase the HUD. I mean, it's not much money, but and it's well worth it for the prices you get at the end. But I keep thinking, now, is it worth buying this? Have I possibly got time to finish this
right
before the time runs out? I can think of nothing worse than buying this HUD, and getting halfway through the hunt and it's suddenly finished, and you don't get a chance to get to the end of it.
Right.
But they are great. They are really great. Yeah.
Of course, the other thing about spending 100 limens or whatever for the HUD is that you're helping support Mad P's continuing existence, which I figure is more than worth the price.
Oh yes. No, they are absolutely worth the price. I wasn't resenting the paying thing. I was resenting the thing that I thought of the hunt. Get the HUD, get halfway through, and then suddenly find it's been replaced.
And you don't get your prizes unless you finish, because you do have to collect all the clues first, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they're devilish.
They're almost always in two parts, So you do part 1, and then part 2, and then come back to the original or third location. So it's very staged, and it may be very satisfying to do part 1, but if you haven't got time to do part 2, anyway, it is such an achievement, because there are plenty of hunts around. There are quite a few Inworld games around and things like that, but this combines everything and just takes you on an adventure. So it's it's very skillfully done stuff. And also, I noticed it's a real from what I gathered last night on that show, Pet. There is Kiana who's in Europe, but her team is scattered. Yeah. Her team are actually scattered all over the world.
That's right.
It's an example of a company, if you like.
It's thriving virtual enterprise. Yeah.
Uses the whole scope of virtual worlds to have an international team, working on these things. If a real life project could never happen with a team that far scattered. So
they're very professional too, and I started the Room 326 hunt yesterday with a friend. We got up to the 5th clue, and then we were passing out, so it was time to give it up for a little while. But I noticed that they also have built sponsors in to their path that they make you follow, and they're just a real smart going concern. The Mad P group. They cover all their bases. Everything they do is superb, very professional, and they're a bunch of great people. It's wonderful. It's just another example of what good can come. Do you know if they're on other grids? Are they mainly on Second Life? I think they're mainly here, right?
I think they've I think they've experimented. They've been asked to do things in OpenSim and what have you, because of their expertise, rather than do a Mad P venture. But I think they're pretty anchored in Second Life, really. They're really, for what they do, they have to be. They need to involve a lot of locations.
Right.
They involve a lot of shops and things like that, and they obviously work with people that give out really high quality prizes. And
that's true.
It'd be lovely to see something like that taking place on the hypergrid, but I don't think it was
maybe down the road. Maybe in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah. But I know for a fact, I'm trying to think of the instances, but I know they've the Mad P Productions or Mad P Games, whatever they're called, have been subcontracted by other people, to do things which don't have Mad P's name on it. They're on the credits, but they're not official Mad P things. And I think they may have done stuff on OpenSim under that auspices, so to speak, because they are really, considered to be the best at.
It's stunning. Their work is stunning. It really is. Even down to the sound effects. They're just so creepy.
Yeah. it's like a Seventh Guest CD-ROM or something like that, you know, when you solve a puzzle and you got the sound and
I love that game so much. Seventh Guest and 11th Hour. I love those games so much. That's why I love Mad P.
I've actually got a newly worked version of Myst and Seventh Guest on the iPad because I love them so much, but I've never actually really got around to playing them on the iPad. I thought, you know, I'll just do it all over again, you know. But
jump inside the pool table, man. Jump inside the pool table.
Yeah, I've forgotten all the solutions and everything. So
that's not really a solution. It's a short. If I remember correctly, the Seventh Guest or 11th Hour, I can't remember which one, but I think it's Seventh Guest. If you go into the pool table, if you go into one of the pockets of the pool table, it takes you out in the kitchen, so it's a quick shortcut across the house.
Oh, all right.
That's good to know.
I'll have to check that out. It's so many years, you know. I actually played it on a CDI machine, which is.
Wait, you were actually one of 10 people that actually owned a CDI?
I love CDI. Yeah, well, you know, it not being a gamer as such, you know, there were a limited number of games like that I could get. Seventh Guest I have on the PC somewhere, but they also had art galleries, and they had a virtual world on there, believe it or not.
What's it called?
With your internet connection. I don't think they gave it a name. It was CD Online, but it was. It wasn't generic. Well, you didn't. You could buy it. You could subscribe, I think, or you bought a CD called CD Online, and it was the first web access I ever had was through the CDI player, via a modem and a phone line. And there was a very early version of Mosaic, and you know, I could literally come home and look up things the next day on the web from my TV set with the CDI. It was it's lost technology, but it was good. It had art galleries.
That's like back in the day when they had web TV, right?
Yeah, and it had interactive music discs. You know, some big name performers would release special gamey versions of their CDs, and it was fun. You know, there was a lot of different stuff on it, but. Myst, the original Myst, and Seventh Guest were on it, even though the successors were PC only. And I just played them that way. I even have something like this. As I say, I can't shoot anything to save my life, but the CDI machine came with something called an air mouse, which was just like a gun. You know, it had a trigger, and you pointed at the screen, you calibrated, and you fired at it. And, you know, there were some shoot-'em-up games where, you know, the metaphor of the gun was fine, but the official name of this gun was an air mouse. And I used it mostly with the encyclopedia. I just kept on shooting at pages I wanted to read. You know, it wasn't, you know, the gun as an instrument is actually very useful because where you point, you saw the cursor, and where you click the trigger, you opened. And it was... You know, forget leaps and Oculus Rifts. I have me gun, me air mouse, you know, and
I will shoot everything on screen.
it was wired, but it had a very long wire, you know, about 12 foot long, so you could literally trace this wire and the gun anywhere in the room, you know, so you could have.
The reason why you liked it, I know why the reason why you liked it, because nothing was shooting back at you. You were just shooting links and stuff on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, my kind of place.
Yeah. Now, actually,
definitely.
This actually is a great segue into. Oh, well, actually, before we do it, I just like to ask Petlove. I know that I've actually been with you to a wonderful island we went to a few weeks ago, where you play games quite a lot, and they also had these things.
Oh, AVGI. The sim is called. It's just the letters A, V as in Victor, G, I, and they have a round of tables, but they also have a sword fighting game that is complicated enough to keep me from having invested time in it yet. But on the other side of the sim, did I put that well? And on the other side of the sim it's loaded with Soror Nishi's work. So it's just a beautiful sim, and it's a good place to just go play Greedy or Snakes and Ladders, or, you know, they have about 6 or 7 tables there. So yeah, I enjoy table games in Second Life. They're very relaxing. They're kind of mindless, and I don't have to run from zombies or kill anybody and blow their heads off. That works for me.
Yeah, same with me. It's really tedious running from zombies and being damaged and and stuff like that.
Yeah, forget it. You know what else is fun? Is bowling. We found a few bowling alleys. There's one on a place called TNT Greedy. I think that's the name of the whole sim. They have tons of tables, and they have bowling. They have a movie theater that plays film noir movies. They have all kinds of funny stuff. Don't get the burritos. That's all I'm going to say. You do not want to get the burrito at the movie theater unless you have a hanky to wipe your eyes from crying because you're laughing so hard.
Oh dear!
Lots of fun. Lots of fun.
I have a.
There used to be a bowling alley here in Chilwell. There isn't now, but there used to be.
Well, bring it back, being as you'll have that general audience soon.
I have a little item in my inventory I occasionally give out to people. It's just called a sweetener from the labs. So that's sort of thing. People look at it and they wear it, and well, I'm not going to say anything else. I don't give it out very often.
Oh darn! I used to like the poison apple. The poison apple would kill you.
I remembered it the other day and gave it to somebody who was really irritating me.
Now burns.
They're a young male kid, and what it did to them, I think they actually enjoyed. So I'm not going to.
Well, yeah, they probably would.
Anyway, that's no matter. If any of you want to sweeten up and welfare, I'll be happy to.
I'll trade you a burrito for a sweetener.
And I think I'll just avoid both of
you. You're smart.
Beware of unsolicited gifts from Al Burns.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's some other people I learned to be parsimonious about and in private if they send me something.
Right.
there was the squid. You may, I don't know if any of you were recipients of a squid, but there was a squid that would attach itself to your face.
Great.
And the package had a suitably mild-mannered and seemingly innocent name. It turned out to be some.
That speaking, I have some new news, some tech news here that I think Al Burns.
Yeah.
I just came across this.
Yeah, I've seen this in chat. So actually, that is a great segue because before we were on air, I was talking with Honor, and she was actually bringing out some issues to do with Oculus Rifts and various stuff like that. I'd like to open the conversation into that. But yeah, let's start with that news world that you've got in Skype.
Well, apparently, Emotive, the people who brought you the Epoch headset, which is the brain reader, reads EKG or EEG waves for virtual worlds, where you can push and pull and levitate and blah 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 in virtual worlds. Apparently, they're doing a Kickstarter now with a 5-channel wireless headset to do the Emotive Insight, which is a newer, lighter, sleeker one, and it uses the contacts use some sort of dry connect now. So they're made some massive advancements here. They're on a Kickstarter, and the link is in here if Petshop would throw it up there. They still got a way to go here to raise the money for it, but they're building up for the new one. So generally, if you don't know what the Emotive Insight or the Emotive Epoch was, a number of years ago, Emotive went on TED and showed off their new headset and everything. It's just a kind of like a telepathy headset for virtual worlds, more or less. What it does is it can understand and decipher basic mental commands. So it can detect stuff like push, pull, levitate, rotate, and even commands that are harder to visualize, such as disappear. It can also detect facial expressions such as blink, winks, frown, surprise, clench, and smile. So that actually comes in really handy when you're trying to do stuff like you're trying to get your avatar to emote your face. You could hook it up to one of these, and actually it just reads your facial expressions and translates them to the avatar. What's interesting to me is that they're doing a lighter version of this headset, more advanced. So I'm looking forward to this. This is a major step forward as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm just here looking at the page, and they've passed their their goals, so they're definitely funded. But they've got some pictures of the current design, and it's rather cool looking, and it
very
it doesn't
cool looking.
it doesn't go in your ears. It doesn't cover up your face. It looks like just kind of this modern headpiece thing.
Now, if I was paranoid, which I'm not, I'd point out that this is something the NSA would probably love to hook into, because they knew what we were thinking, not just what we were typing. It would just make things so much easier for them.
Well, you got to keep in mind it doesn't necessarily read your thoughts. It reads strong intentions.
No, I was kidding.
That's it. It just reads strong intentions. So anybody out there with the tinfoil hat on, no, it's not that high resolution. It's not going to read. It's not reading your dreams or anything. It's reading like a very high agnostic kind of, nebulous kind of push kind of feeling. But it's not like not going to read like I'm having illicit dreams about Margaret Thatcher type of thing. So you're pretty good. Yeah. You're okay, guys.
Well,
it's not that.
Yeah, if you're thinking of murdering somebody, in other words, it's not going to tell anybody who you're thinking about murdering.
It's not okay if you're having those dreams, Will. It's not okay.
Well,
I can't imagine that one. That would just wreck my day right there. No coffee would make up for it.
Well,
I'd be depressed all day.
I think when they come out with the 17-channel version, and the 17th channel is an unnamed function, that's when we start worrying.
Seriously.
But I think this is actually good for like stuff like if you have stuff like Oculus Rift, this is the type of thing that while I give Oculus Rift no love, it's just because I wanted to see something like this with the Epoch or the Insight headsets, where it takes care of that that natural interaction gesture. Because when you put the headset on, you're pretty much blind. And I wanted to figure out. I'm interested in how are we solving the original problems from the 90s with the same headsets. And yes, they were low resolution, but in their credit, so are the games and so are the computers. So at the time, they were, by context, the same high definition to us in the 90s as it is now to us. Like we expect 1080p. So generally, what I'm looking at is I want to see technologies that transcend it, that actually solve those. And Insight is one of those great ideas. Connect camera, not separately, but somehow tracking in there needs to be part of this ideal for a future of VR. So I like these high end stuff like these headsets and the emote and the can you do gesture recognition and tracking and stuff like that. Can we do this? Because this is stuff that really needed to happen 20 years ago. And while I'm happy that Oculus Rift exists, yes, I would never ever say no, this thing should never have been built. No, I actually believe it should have been, but not as a revolution, but more of a catalyst to get the conversation started again and get us back on track.
And, I think it's doing that, Will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's doing that. But the real conversation I want to see going, and I'm starting to see it kind of drifting that direction. Is okay. Then now that we're back, to where we were, the original thinking. How do we transcend that? And I'm not necessarily happy about seeing stuff like the Omni treadmill. Yeah, it's great. It's an omnidirectional treadmill, but it looks a hell of a lot like the original pods, the VR pods from 1995, 96. I played on them, so I'm saying, okay, how do we transcend that?
Well, even the Oculus Rift reminds me of things I saw in the 70s in arcades, where you better load the money.
Well, I used to play Doom. I used to play Doom and Wolfenstein on the original pod in the 90s, and it was amazing. I love it. But then I saw, that John Carmack is now the CTO of Oculus, and I kind of laughed and went, well, that's a blast from the past. That's kind of like,
big step there.
Before I come to Honor, actually, to summarise this, we've been through this conversation before, but to me, these it came up last week with Fleepy talking about the orientation of a possible new real life convention next year. We have all these technologies coming online now, which are absolutely great in themselves, but they are all function orientated. They are not, we're dreaming up combinations of the way we can use them. And I think they all have their value because they are addressing particular aspects of interfacing, but they are not. None of them seem to indicate the exact future. Yeah, even Google Glass, which will come down in price and things like that. But I mentioned earlier about the old CD or DVD based games are beginning to lose subscribers because people are increasingly going mobile. They want them as an app and things like that. And as the apps get better and the graphics capabilities of tablets get better, they want to go with that. Now, in 20 years' time, there will be something. We'll probably have something on our hands that will. We don't know what it will be yet, but we'll probably look back at, say, the iPad and think, God, wasn't that primitive technology? I can't imagine what it would be. But
I can imagine it.
Yeah,
I can say that it's probably going to be something like an advanced AR system.
Yeah,
where it's there is no device in between you and your information at that point. It's all just ubiquitous in there.
I mean, I remember we ran some clips a year or two ago, which were, forget Google Glass. I mean, these were contact lenses that were being specially built. They had micro technology built into them. You would wear them like contact lenses and have the interface in front of you. But I was talking to Anna before we came on air, she said, "Oh, don't get me into a rant about this and that." And immediately mentioned Oculus Rift. And I think she addressed a very interesting issue because you raised the matter, Anna, of a high percentage of the more serious use of Second Life is by people who are maybe lesser abled and have the attraction of the virtual environment is actually empowering. And this could be somebody, for example, who has a text reader but is blind, but they can sort of visualize the environment and partake in conversation. Or it could be somebody who's deaf and therefore has to read text. They can see fine. Yeah. So there's a lot of aspects to this. And your concern, and I can easily see this, is how would somebody who's already maybe slightly disadvantaged, compared to the norm, I don't want to get politically incorrect here, cope with something like the Oculus Rift, which is cumbersome and could actually be seen as a disadvantage given the reasons they use the virtual interfaces in the first place. So you had pretty strong thoughts there, didn't you?
It's a personal issue for me. I spent 10 years walking with a cane when I could walk at all. I have been outside of the temporarily able-bodied community, although I'm back into it. Yeah. If you think about it, 10 years ago, 1 out of every 20 North Americans had a physical disability. That could be anything from somebody with a broken leg to somebody with multiple sclerosis. But that's 5%. Whoa. 1 out of 20. But today, that number has increased. It's now 1 out of every 15 or 16 in the general population. But Inworld, in Second Life, it's a much higher percentage because in Second Life, it's a much more level playing field. Somebody in a wheelchair in real life can stand up and walk and run and dance in Second Life. If you talk to, we have a quote from Gentle Heron in an upcoming Prim Perfect edition saying that Second Life is a second chance of life for her. She has multiple sclerosis and walks with canes, and works with Virtual Ability Inc., doing amazing work. But there's a very, very large population of people within Second Life who use local chat because they've had a stroke, and so they're not going to use voice. They're too self-conscious, or they're deaf, or they're mute, or they have some other physical disability that requires them to use local chat. Oculus Rift, I've never obviously tried because I'm not on the list of testers for brand new technology. Nobody's going to send me one. But my understanding is that the keyboard is virtual and you have to find it. Well, that doesn't help things for that large segment of our population. In addition, people almost always forget the fact that there are 11 languages spoken within Second Life regularly on a daily basis. I'm not talking about the tiny little pockets of languages, but there are 11 common languages in Second Life. English is obviously the largest, but it is not the only one. And these, all of us, I have one, most of the people I know have a translator, so that we can communicate with people around the grid. But you require local chat in order to use it. And again, if it's a virtual keyboard and you can't find it, that makes things difficult from a communication point of view. I think when we talk about new technologies and we talk about new tools, that's wonderful. I'm all for new, gizmos and things and shiny things.
Shiny.
But people forget the nature of the community within Second Life, and one of the things that makes Second Life what it is that we can deal with people from other parts of the world on an equal basis using the tools that we have in World. That if we have a physical disability which impedes our mobility or communication skills in real life, that we have the ability to be just as apparently normal as everybody else in Second Life. And if we don't recognize that nature of the community and the nature of what Second Life offers to people, then these new tools are going to have a much smaller potential market than they think they are.
I think I'm going to agree with Honor on that one, because that's, when I saw the video for they're showing off the Oculus with Jamie Heineman from Mythbusters. He was completely immersed. He's like, "Oh, I love this. This is great. This is great." But the one thing that people weren't noticing was how many times a day I had to say, "Here, Jamie, here's the keyboard. Here, Jamie, you're hitting the wrong key. Here, Jamie, something's, I seem to be like, screwing something up." He's like, "Oh, you got your fingers on the wrong key. Here, Jamie, do this." They had to go in there and physically, get his hands, whatever. And that's what I'm honing in on. That's why I say there's got to be a way to get around that. It's not as great as it is. It's a great advancement, but there's some huge drawbacks.
If they can program cell phones, so that you can do voice dialing, why can't they use that technology on those keyboards? Why not?
Autocorrect. Autocorrect.
Take it out. Get rid of it.
I think what Honor addressed is a very pertinent point. I've mentioned this before, not recently, but in the past. I mean, anybody who knows me on the show, especially back when we did the organic bit, the faces, so I was always fond of saying, "Welcome to this," and the metaverse is this, that, and the other, and one day I'm coming to a holodeck near you soon. Science fiction obviously influences us a lot in terms of the way we, it becomes, concepts become mythological almost, and we strive to create them. So what's the mobile phone if it's not a Star Trek communicator? What would an advanced virtual world be if not Star Trek's holodeck, for example? But although you might dream that in the future you will just walk into a room and it will be a virtual environment, so you walk into a physical room that you've maybe kept free of any augmentation, it's simply projected walls, floor, ceiling, or whatever, and you could go anywhere, any place to do what you needed to do in the day. Now, that's a long way down the line, because even if the technology exists, I think very few people would have the spare room in their homes to kit it out. But who knows what the future holds. But I wonder if we enter that photorealistic, instant-on virtual world at some point in the future as an interfacing device, whether we will look back at prototypes like Second Life and think of it as a golden age rather than the reality in the future. Because the advantage, as Honor says here, I mean, what's missing in the Second Life virtual environment is, and OpenSim for that matter, is as important in some ways as what we have got. Because we can't see the color of somebody's skin or their sex if they don't want us to, we do have a level playing field, and that level playing field is very much dictated by what's missing from the environment. We often, most people who use virtual worlds seriously don't really have any obvious prejudice and preconceptions while they're in the virtual world, because the traits that they would see in organic face-to-face encounters do not exist. And what Honor is saying about the empowerment of less able people in these environments is very pertinent because, I know when I'm talking to Honor or any of you that I'm talking to another human being. In some cases, I have met you, but that's a different matter in real life. But, my avatar is communicating with your avatar, but basically I'm communicating with you. And I'm able to do so without any prejudice or preconception I might be still subject to in real life. I do have new preconceptions. For example, the way you dress your avatar and the way you behave tells me a lot about you. But it doesn't tell me what you are like in real world, whether you're lesser abled, whether you're male or female until you open your mouth. And a lot of people in Second Life insist not on doing text only still, because they were around before Second Life had voice. And by not using voice and sticking with text, they can still, they can interact with what I suppose they feel is a greater level of safety. And as all this new technology comes along, I think it's going to be great and it's going to be empowering. But, I can see the end route of this having as many problems as advantages. And I think it's, I look at the interfacing thing as an overview. I'm fascinated by the way we interface with technology. But, there is the keyboard and there's the ubiquitous mouse, which are fairly in almost 90% use by the population now. We know those interfaces. There will be other things that come in useful. There'll be other things that are for special interest only, like the track mill thing that Will mentioned, for example. I can't imagine anybody, running around in one of those contraptions in the virtual world all day. They might do it for exercise, but it's not going to become a ubiquitous piece of kit. Neither, I don't think, will the Leap or certainly not the Oculus Rift. Maybe those space glasses, Google Glass, there's a whole lot of stuff there. But I think at the end of the day, these are only strands that will have to come together in some way. Somebody is going to come up with the next ubiquitous device, that's for sure. The more functionality it has will be important. It's like technical reviewers will tell you, when you go out and buy a mobile phone, be it an iPhone or an Android pad or a Windows, whatever they call toys, you don't want to look at what it looks like or whatever. You want to find out before you get it what kind of sensors it's got, how many different sensors, all its different attributes, because the device you're going to buy, its real value is in how it integrates all those sensors and what use it can be to you as one device. It's no use having a pad that plays games and does nothing else, and then having another pad that would be a word processor and did nothing else. The trend is to have a multifunctional device, like a real computing device, but more easy to use and effectively mobile. And the pads are beginning to achieve a lot of things, but it's not down to the fact it's just a pad in your hand. It's down to the amazing array of sensors and things that are put into those. You've got cameras, you've got gyroscopes, you've got touch screens, you've got all sorts of different technologies. Pardon me, that have actually become one, and their value is in the way they have become one. And I think with the Oculus Rift, especially, even the Leap device and the track, the thing for doing running in, all these things are single function things. They are indicating the way of the future, but they are not. They're not compacted and made into one advantageous device yet. And I would hope that somewhere down the line, despite what Honor says, there will be interfacing devices that address those, lesser able people and things like that. It needs to be something that, in the same way that Second Life is very compelling because of its limitations still, Any device that comes along, I think needs to be able to address people with limited use and maybe advanced use at the same time, if you see what I mean.
But there's only one. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if I might get a word in edgewise, it might be worthwhile to remember that Ray Kurzweil, inventor of the Kurzweil keyboard, which was the first synthesizer keyboard, and probably more famous in recent times for his postmodern, whatever it is. Anyhow, that he began his designing work specifically geared to devices and hardware for disabled use. That was where he started. So, I think there's an awful lot being done that actually is beginning on that side, beginning with addressing issues of disability that then gets ported to people who are not disabled in that particular way.
That's very true.
So.
That's true. However, here's one of my hot buttons. I've decided cranky is the new black, and I'm fashionable. Here's and I'm going to pull different strands together in order to make my point here. One of the things I've noticed over the past 20 years, because I used to be one of those people who would come in and audit the development project and some large clients, and development methodologies obviously have changed significantly, and now certainly London Lab uses Agile and a variety of other people do. And what I find missing in a lot of the new development methodologies is what we used to call analysis. People would, look at how things were currently being used, what changes they wanted to make, but part of the analysis that was done was what was the impact to the current users and the current way things are used. Use cases do not do that. If you have a use case, for example, this was significant to me, but it's silly from the rest of the world's point of view. They had a use case where they said, for example, that the ability to put a fixed wind light on your sim so that everybody saw it, this was important. Okay, fair enough. That's wonderful. What they did not do was look and see who used that function currently and how they used it. So when they changed things so that people could put a fixed wind light on a sim and everybody would see it, they totally screwed up the functionality from a machinist and a photographer point of view. And those are the people who were using it on a regular basis. And because use cases only look at the new functionality. Okay. Nobody went back and said, how is it used today? And if technology like Oculus Rift or all of the rest of them, in order for them to come together and to serve the wider community, the entire community that would then be migrating to them, is if somebody actually did some analysis on what's out there in the community and what they're using and why they're using it. And until that method of analysis or those skills come back into methodologies where people are building greater wonderful gadgets and new shiny things, then we're going to have a problem, because they're going to lose the current community. They're going to move ahead, but they won't bring people with them, and they're going to suddenly wonder why their market is so small.
I would that wind light example. Actually, there is another example of that. Actually, I mean, obviously you can change it to what you want rather than go with the fixed one. But all these sims with wind light settings where they look psychedelic or just moody, they don't take into account people that are colorblind.
It's true.
I am colorblind in sort of some shades of reddy, browny, greeny things, and it doesn't affect me every day. But sometimes I'll go into a wind light sim, and I think, what the hell is this mess? Because somebody else will probably see it totally differently, and it'd be fine for them. But to have that forced on me,
you should create some wind lights, Mal. You should make some wind lights for that level of color.
That's something that I've been saying for a number of years now. The ability to make wind light settings an asset that's tradable, so you can just give people an asset and just say here, and then you can double click it and it'll set your wind light. I've been saying that for a number of years.
There
That
was
should
a
just be
time
an
when
asset.
you could do that. In one of the viewers, you could give them a note card that had like a sun in the corner, but that stopped working. So yeah,
And
you're absolutely
unfortunately,
right.
that should have been an asset a while ago. I mean, a number of things that I've said over the years is, different assets. Like in my inventory, if I want to store stuff, it should just be a blank asset. Like if I should want to send you a PDF file, I should be able to do it. There's a web browser built into this thing. That's how you open this stuff up instead of note cards. Which is basically just text. Really, I should be able to send you a formatted note card or basic bold italic stuff like that. I should have been rich text kind of environment. Should have been in here years ago.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. We still love it, don't we?
We still love it. However, I do have to completely agree with Honor on every one of her points at this point. I mean, that's like
Oh my
the pinnacle
God.
of critical thinking. I have to agree. This is considerations that need to be taken into thought process when you're designing and debuting all this stuff, and a lot of this stuff doesn't seem to do it, which is what irks me the most about a lot of it. It's just like, hey, it's a great advancement, but you just cut off a large majority of people, or you have not addressed something, or you've introduced a new problem by doing it. However, to Mal's point, I want to say this now. He said when he was going on his talk about what the future could bring. A good example, and I'm going to put this in chat here for Petlove. She wants to throw it up on screen when she has a chance here. Is the book by Ray Kurzweil, since he was on our topic a moment ago for Tara. Ray Kurzweil wrote a book called The Age of Spiritual Machines. That is an excellent book to define now into the future. It gives you an idea of that progression and how subtle it will be. But by the time you get like 50 to 100 years from now, you're going to look back and it's just going to be common for the entire multiplicity, being in a singularity kind of situation, or a virtual environment and all places, like the real world virtual environment type stuff. All that stuff's going to be commonplace.
And well, I will happily leave it to you to look back 50 to 100 years from now, because I'm sure I'm not going to be around.
Know me.
Tara
I
and Mel,
plan to be-
you will be doing your show 50, 100 years from now from like the Uberverse or something.
Oh yeah.
You'll be on Turner Broadcasting.
It'll be endless reruns.
If I can upload the essential stuff online before and find a secure server before I cease this mortal coil or whatever the expression is, fair enough. I'll probably go for it. But whether it happens or not, I don't know.
But generally speaking, if you read in that book, and that's I have a copy of it here. It's one of my favorite books. It goes through the subtle steps. It goes for 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, then 100 years. But it follows this one person, I think, called Molly or whatever, and it shows her progression through it as technology keeps getting better. But her look back on it, it's like certain things that we think is like really odd right now, like an augmented reality that's everywhere, just constantly, and then your ability to split your consciousness one place to another, be in multiple places. We're doing that now in a lower end of it. I'm in a virtual world with you guys, and I'm on Skype at the same time, and I'm have access to Google. And what this book does is it goes through the what if that was all just inherently in your head, like you had just Wi-Fi going all the time and you had access to all this stuff. What would that empower you to do? But it shows the other side of it where Molly, this character, is like looking at it saying, well, I'm currently in a meeting, I'm attending the seminar, and I'm talking to you, and he's like, well, can you just give me your time? She's like, I'm giving you all the time I need, because to him, from his perspective, he doesn't quite understand that her ability to think is like well outpacing him by leaps and bounds. Like she's got an AI behind her, and that machine learning and augmentation going, and she just can the equivalent of like 100 brains or 1,000 versions of her can exist, and she's like, yeah, give me all the time you need.
And that's probably
that's very far reaching.
There is there's endless debate going on some of those concepts, and it's way beyond what probably ought to be a wrap-up point for this show.
Well, the interesting part, I just want to leave that as it is, but the interesting part is that's what Ray Kurzweil is doing now. He's working at Google. He's bringing that machine learning into Google itself. That's his project right now. So he's not like just saying it and saying, okay, I'm waiting for somebody else. He's actually employed by Google now to come in and do it. Like turn the whole Google whatever machine learning system into something that's AI. That's his job right now.
Where's my choir MP3? I need a choir.
This The other side to this, of course, is we're finally seeing a decline in Facebook use. Not major yet, but it's starting. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
It's the way you handle information and information overload, and that trajectory is fascinating. I want to read all about that. It sounds like a science fiction novel rather than a textbook, but it's. One wonders about. I mean, human beings evolve and adapt to our environment, so undoubtedly we will evolve to be able to handle much more information and stuff like that. But it could backfire. You could. You think of science fiction like Logan's Run, for example, where everything is predefined and the guy, they're desperate to escape from the city or whatever because everything is too controlled, and I think that you die when you reach adulthood or something, and I forget. But,
was that the one where they went and spun up around the ceiling and they'd get zapped?
No. This was a future society where people didn't. People, I don't know. I think something happened to them when they became adults. They didn't really live anymore, and a couple of people pending that age wanted to escape the city. But it was the human desire to break free of the constriction that had been created around them, I suppose, is what I'm thinking about. And one wonders, if you follow the trajectory down the road, it would. Will we evolve to keep up with the technology we're creating around us, or will there come a point where we break and say enough of the technology? It's one of those.
Diet and exercise might play a large part of that.
that will help. And so maybe we do need the treadmill after all.
Yeah.
Misuse Melbournes of the singularity.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, we've I think the live bit of this show has already exceeded. We're just over the 2 hour.
We beat our record. We beat our record now. Yes, we did.
No, we had half an hour before we started. Remember,
so then it's 3 hours.
We are. We are close to. We're close to it. We've been on air for.
It's been great. It's been always a pleasure.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder putting together. We had a wonderful lineup for Open Soon discussion last week, and it went on. And I was thinking, we're back to Second Life today. We won't be a very long show. Can't possibly be a very long show, really. But here we go. It has been.
It's a good way to spend the afternoon.
Exactly. It's that's what our channel's all about. A Sunday afternoon, afternoon Pacific time strand.
Whatever.
Your Sunday immersion.
Yeah.
Whatever we call it. Okay. Well, there is probably a whole load more, but I'm going to leave that, in fact, for this week to the clips that are coming up. There are plenty of them. As to say, we've got some machinima, we got some arts clips and stuff like that. We've got an edition of we got the University of Western Australia Awards courtesy of Petlove on film, and
Emo too. Emo chipped in.
And
Lapician. Avian.
And Lapician. Okay. Do you want to read off the credits?
I just did. Secret Rage. Don't forget Secret Rage.
Yeah, and the several hundred machinima makers.
Oh, good Lord! Yes, of course. Yes. What a great collection that was.
Secret did, of course, announce all the awards a couple of weeks ago on the show, but now you can actually see it on film. And and of course your latest Happy Hunting, which I mentioned earlier, and various machinima arts events, and it's the usual eclectic mix. I can't really go there. We sort of divided it up into machinima, arts, and then lifestyle, and the long form shows are sort of segues to all of them. I like putting together my playlist in a sort of particular order so that it works. But anyway, before we go, firstly, let me just ask Tara if she has anything else for the weekly roundup, or are we finished?
Looks like Tara's finished.
Well,
there you go.
There we go. Oops, sorry, I had myself muted. I'll start from the top again. What I was saying was Friday, just a reminder, is the beginning of Hot Bay City Nights, their second annual event at the Bay City Fairgrounds region, showcasing the best vintage and retro vehicles. Speaking of guy stuff.
Cool.
That's it for me.
And talking of America, you have your Memorial Day or something.
Yeah, that's a couple weeks
Labor
away.
Day is
So-
coming.
Well,
Labor Day.
Labor Day. That's
Labor Day.
well,
You go back
A
to
couple
work.
weeks off. Don't even think about it yet.
Well, I
Is
must
that bad, Tara? Sorry, Mal.
No. It's just Mal's jumping the gun because this next weekend is the UK's bank holiday, summer holiday weekend. So it's their summer ends a week before ours does.
Yeah,
So,
never mind,
okay.
never mind. It's a different system. Actually, that wasn't what I was thinking. I was prompted because the first machinima for Labor Day has already arrived on the playlist.
No kidding.
So we're 2 weeks ahead with that one. I forget whether it's in this week's or whether it's on hold for next week. we started getting them. We'll have, you know what's coming
Hold it for next week.
You know what's coming next. Next week will be Halloween, of course.
There are Halloween hunts in the works already.
Yeah,
Somebody said
yeah.
Halloween 2 weeks ago. I almost fell out of my chair.
That Hunter Cell blog that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's Rosamund's. That's a great blog.
I get their newsfeed, and I don't Twitter most of it because it's actually announcements for up-and-coming hunts, and they're looking.
It's a mix. You have to look through.
Yeah, but I read it, and I read about the hunt starting on the 1st of November.
That's Rosamund Mendelssohn, who is our hunt reporter on Happy Hunting. She does a lot of really great work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And her partner, Gia, business partner. Yeah. Shia, I should say, is his name. Anyway,
yes, it is time to wrap. To wrap. So I'd like to thank all our guests today. Firstly, Saffia Widdershins, who won't be replying because she, as promised, did have to depart rather urgently. A short, well, I think it was a short while ago, but a little bit earlier anyway, so her seat is taken. But thank you, Saffia. Thank you also, of course, as ever, to Will Burns. Thank you, Will.
He's smoking.
Rock and roll. Oh, not smoking.
Is that a bubble gum?
I got my little
Oh,
party
it's a
favor.
thingy.
I got my party favor in.
Okay, don't move. Let me get a close-up on that.
I got my party favor in right now.
I apologize for not getting perfect close-ups all the time.
Oh, that's all right.
But I'm going to work on
you make
yours.
it up by jumping in my lap.
I threatened to jump in your lap.
We also have to thank Kitty Cats for providing a basket for Tara's strays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we didn't get to the basket. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Beautiful basket.
But in front of the stage, you will see a basket, a laundry basket, which is
Yes.
made for furries. Certain
It's
kinds.
specifically made. Yes, it's specifically for kitty cats, and kitty cats who are awake, unlike mine, which is snoozing, as part of their random movements, will periodically jump in the basket, bury themselves in the dirty laundry, poke their tails out, poke their heads out, look around, dive back under the laundry, and eventually jump out, just as cats do.
This guy
It's
won't
like
fit in
anyone
that
else for the
basket. Right?
Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff.
Oh, where's the
Here
big
you are.
cat? Oh, there he is. Sorry.
Is this the beginning of AI?
Yes, look. This cat's so smart, his head is way far away from his body.
Yeah, that big one's getting too big for his boots now. We'll have to get him off this stage and park him somewhere where he can grow.
He hasn't gotten any bigger for several weeks.
Yeah,
After
well,
7 days, they're full size.
Okay.
He's great.
I'm not going to. Okay, so, where was I? Okay, thank you, Will. And thank you, Petlove.
You're welcome. I do have one last question.
Oh, yeah.
What are these cats' names?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, the large cat is Hieronymus, and the small one's name is Lark,
Lark. Okay. Thank you.
and that's Larke.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Mal.
Got to make sure we got it right for the credits, eh? Okay, and also thanks to McMillan once again. Wonderful,
Thank you for asking me. It was my pleasure. I had fun.
great conversation too. Brought up lots of interesting things. So glad to have you back, and hopefully we'll be seeing you again soon.
Yeah.
Wonderful, and thanks always to Tara. Thanks, Tara.
Anytime.
Anytime.
All the time.
Every time.
Every time.
Exactly.
All the time. Non-stop Terra. 24-hour channel.
That's right. Tara's
Except
are rare.
when a local tree decides that I should be offline and takes out the power.
Terra eats reality TV show.
Or not.
Indeed. Okay, well, we will be back. Same time, same place. Probably the same metaverse. of course we'll be in the metaverse.
We'll have to do this on OpenSim sometime.
Yes, well, actually, for those of you interested, or you know this, Petlove, that I have actually built a studio for us over on OS Grid.
That's right.
It's not, so we'll be able to put events on there and bring people in from all over the hypergrid to one place instead of just Second Life. But it's there for provisional purposes at the moment, but seems to be working quite well. We've got media on the prim working and all the necessary. All we need now, if anybody wants to volunteer, is a camera HUD scripted for OpenSim, because we can't get our Second Life ones over there easily.
Have to do it the hard way.
Anyway, yes, exactly. That's all behind the scenes tech stuff that we have to take care of doing these things. So anyway, as I said, same time, same place next week, and thank you to everybody for being here. And if you're watching us live, do stay with the channel for the other shows and Machinima and everything else we're going to be bringing up. And if you're watching this in replay, do check out our mbtvlive.nu, where you can watch replays of the entire show, including this. So we'll see you next time. And I'm queuing the transition no.
I'm waiting for it to kick in now.